mocking me. You wouldn't talk to me last week, would you?
He did talk
You
and then he
claimed
coughed
to
on
be
me.
a Christian, don't you?
Well,
You
I said
accused
yeah.
me last week.
You haven't
of being
actually.
a
You don't even know what we're talking
Christian
about. You are.
I am
You are.
not.
Yes, you are. You support the
I
state of
am a-
Israel. You
I've
shouldn't even
got
say the
a
word
verse.
Israel because it's blasphemous.
I've got a verse for you.
We don't want to hear it.
You claim to be
What
a
about
Christian.
what about Revelations
You
2:9 and
claim
3:9?
to be a Christian.
Don't cough on me
Because
this week.
we
I'm here to
know
prove that
why
Zionists hate free speech. They had a conversation. It got 250,000 views and then got struck off YouTube for hate speech. Yeah, and you're telling me that a heavily religious Muslim sitting down with a heavily religious Christian having a cordial conversation, having been enemies for the last 10 years, is hate speech. Why is that hateful? Well, because what do they agree on who's causing the problems, and you're not allowed to do that because it's hate. Jews. You can't say that. Yes, it is Jews, don't worry. There's a reason that it is Jews as well, and it's like it's a category of reality, and it's what we've demonstrated at these debates. And I don't think that we've got any rabid Zionists in the crowd anymore, but it's this absolute inability to condemn a Jew, even if they do something wretched. Right? So that's why I showed up in my shirt saying I stand with Israel, and it's got Jeffrey Epstein on it, because Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. And so if you say this to people that are defending Israel, say Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent, he was blackmailing politicians all around the world by getting footage of them with young girls, and we all know this is confirmed as a conspiracy theory.
You're talking, we all recognize the value of Muslims and Christians talking together. We can do that because we're God's children. Now, I think a very current example of the opposite of that is the Jews have killed Ismail Haniyeh. Now, he is the negotiator. What does that say? If you walk into the room to talk to the Jews, they're going to shoot you. Now, that is the opposite of anything Christians or Muslims stand for.
Yeah.
And I think it says a lot.
And I've noticed it in the treatment of me, which people basically gaslight me about. And Pasty Friend, he always, every time I talk about how I've been cancelled or assaulted or arrested or fired, he always goes, oh, poor baby. And I'm like, I bet every single day you watch these podcasts about these men who've been cancelled by the woke, and all that really means is they had a book event cancelled. They were going to do a book reading, and then some leftists rang up and said, he's a racist, and it got cancelled. I've had a lot worse than that happen, and it's because of this issue. You're not allowed to say anything anti-Semitic, which means you're not allowed to point out when Jews do bad things. But do you know who did point out? But do you know who did point out that Jews do bad things? Is it a sin to criticize the Jews? Then how did Jesus Christ commit a sin? Because Jesus Christ criticized the Jews a lot. And we are actually living in a paradigm where it is illegal to do that, right? That's coming in America. They wanted to ban TikTok. I don't know if they've actually done it because of anti-Israel propaganda. Every single congressman has a AIPAC rep looking after them, except for Thomas Massey. There is now one, and he has such a responsibility because he's the only one that is free to say that that's how the whole system works. Exactly.
And I think it's interesting to note he wasn't allowed a voice at the Republican convention.
Yeah, I'll give you another one actually. This is a really good one, right? Is pop stars getting in trouble for either supporting Palestine or not supporting Palestine. So Dua Lipa is a big pop star, and she has been supporting Palestine. She is able to do that because she is incredibly rich and famous, and she is above that level where her career would get destroyed if she came out for Palestine, because she's a superstar. We call this in the business FU money, and quite frankly we need a lot more people with FU money like Susan Sarandon or whoever to come out in favour of Palestine, because they have a responsibility to. Now, my hero Taylor Swift got in trouble this week for basically expressing condolences to the parents of the murdered children at the Taylor Swift dance class in the UK, and she got a big wave of attacks from people saying, why are you talking about that when you haven't said a word about Palestine? Which is fair, but Taylor Swift has re-recorded her first 6 albums to drain the profits off George Soros, the Jewish mafia that used to own her back catalogue, and she's been explicit. She got in serious trouble on Instagram for calling the Soros family greedy. Huge flurry of articles calling her an anti-Semite. So she's aware of what happens when you go up against them. Is Taylor Swift the bad guy for not standing up for Palestine? Or can we actually acknowledge that all of these celebrities are in a state of terror? because they can't, because they know they'll lose everything if they do. And that is bigger proof than ever that there is a Jewish mafia running the entertainment industry, is it not? Michael Jackson, Bob Marley, maybe, who knows? Yeah, I mean, where do we want to go with this in terms of, because it's scary to believe that like a group of people could be evil, and it gets you in an icky place where like, what, if I meet a Jewish person, am I supposed to dislike them? No, it's not, it doesn't work like that. But I'm not sure I can explain how it does work.
I would say make that distinction when we talk about the...
Well, I would say, well, they don't have nothing to do with it, because at this point in history, I would say that everybody who identifies with that identity as a Jewish person has a responsibility to pick a side, right?
A lot of Jews have picked a side, and it's not always the Zionist side.
Good, I love that.
You do?
Yeah.
Walking down the street, if they're not visibly, you can't visibly differentiate an anti-Zionist Jew from a Zionist Jew. How do you go about that?
You can't generally tell that someone's Jewish just from looking at them.
No?
I don't think so.
Black coat, not a giveaway?
Well, that's religious God. So,
yeah,
but that's a religion. That's not a race. That's religious attire.
Someone is a Jew if they have converted or are born into Judaism.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can get into the conversation of
Ethiopians
what are the Jews? Is a tribe rather than a race or a religion, because obviously not all Jews follow Judaism, so it's not a religion.
I think a people is a good...
A people is quite good, but they're not a race because there is no single genetic characteristic that they all share, whereas every other race that would be the case. So what we're dealing with here when we say the Jews is quite confusing.
Well, so there are races. There are like delineated races.
Not easily delineated, but they exist.
Yeah, you just said, look, we can sort of get the DNA markers and be like, there's that group of...
No, I say that the line between where you... No, but the Jews do not fall into a race in the IC categories, because Jews can be black or white or anything. So Jew is technically like a bolt-on. You're a British Jew.
Surely, for example, anyone could revert to Islam and you could have a black, white, brown or anything else Muslim.
So this is my problem, is that the Jews claim that because they are a people who have been a consistent people for 3,000 years and they used to live in Palestine, that it's theirs again. But you just said to me that anyone can convert, right? So I could become a Jew and move to Palestine, but I can't do it now as an Englishman.
That's the prerogative of the Israeli government, who are not representative of Jews. The Israeli government and Jews are not the same thing.
No, they're not. No. But we can't live in this stupid little paradigm where, like, but you said Jews, now you're implicating Jews that aren't involved, because every single day more Palestinian babies get butchered. So we need to be able to say the Jews as a geopolitical body. And you say it's disgusting, but I'm not the one. Amazing, yes. Amazing. See, they can't do it. They get offended. I'm not the one that has justified all this baby killing. I'm even the one that's actually got a bit of sympathy for Jews in Israel who were killed by the IDF, as all of us do. The Israel supporters never, ever care about
Jews as a nationality, and there is no Israeli nationality, there's only Israeli citizenship. So why can you not say that there's a Jewish nationality in Israel? There's no Israeli nationality, there's Israeli citizenship. So why can you not say the Jews there? That's my argument.
I mean, it's sort of mine as well, is that basically, you say the Jews, and you get, you can't do that, you get someone going completely red. And I'm like, I have to say the Jews, because, like, so his argument is that I am not allowed to connect AIPAC to what are the ones over here? AIPAC and the ADL and all of this in America. Labour Friends of Israel, border deputies in the UK, but I'm sure there's one in France and there's a bunch in Germany. Every country has Israel pressure groups. And apparently, if I say that they are working together, that is Hitlerish, basically. It's not just anti-Semitic, it's I'm the new Hitler, because I have pointed out that these people are working together, and last time that happened, we gassed them. That's literally the argument, and that's how they're getting away with it. But it's objectively true, because both sides of the aisle in both the UK and the US are ad hoc to Israel. Are they not? Like, I'm talking Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer. They don't give a shit about Palestinians at all, and they've shown that. And it's exactly the same with Donald Trump and Shuffly Grandpa.
And you have the Conservative Friends of Israel and the Labour Friends of Israel.
And a new one for Farage's pressure party, the British Friends of Israel. right? But I do think something wonderful is happening, and it's why it's so important for the white British to start looking at Muslims as you should aspire to be more like this, because what they did in the last election is badass, and I will say it out loud, it's so cool. If you think the politicians are all the same and they don't speak to us and they're just in it to line their pockets, you should want independence in there, and the Muslims managed that, and that's really cool. The reason that they did, though, is because they identify as Muslims. So in the mosques, when they say, right, we're doing this, don't interrupt yet, sir.
You're mocking me. You wouldn't talk to me last week, would you?
We did talk,
You
and then you coughed on me.
And God knows,
in a conversation just
God is not a friend
Zionists
of
hate free
Hamas.
speech.
God's not a friend of Hamas. They're murdering savages. They're murdering savages.
You're horrible, you are.
I'm a
You're
servant
really
of God,
horrible.
and he's listening to
No,
you.
you're a Christian Zionist,
I've
and that's
got-
about the most blasphemous thing a man can be. You
I've
shouldn't even
got
say the
a
word
verse.
Israel because it's blasphemous.
I've got a verse for you.
We don't want to hear it.
Well, you should, and it's from James chapter 3. You claim to be
What
a
about
Christian.
What about Revelations
You
2:9 and
claim to
3:9?
be a Christian.
Do you know Revelation 2:9?
Brothers, not many of us should claim to be preachers.
Don't cough on me this
Because
week.
we who teach will be judged more severely. Now, you have claimed to be a teacher of Jesus Christ.
Sort of.
Yeah. You've
I'm not a
come up
preacher.
here to Speaker's Corner,
Yeah.
and you've tried to cuddle up.
You haven't listened
to
to anything I've
Muslims.
said
Make your
yet.
point.
You
Get on with it.
accused
No,
me.
even
You
what I've said
accused
yet.
me last week.
You haven't
of being
actually.
a
You don't even know what we're
Christian
talking
Zionist.
about. You are.
I am
You are.
not.
Yes, you are. You support the
I
state
am
of
a
Israel.
servant of Jesus Christ.
Then why don't you condemn Israel?
I
That's the idea.
am not a Christian Zionist.
Why are
Let
they-
me tell you.
Sir, you've
If
taken
you
over
shut
my...
up-
No, I'm not shutting up because I'm here to prove that
why-
Zionists hate free speech.
I know why Israel is backing that land. They're backing it because it belongs to them.
It's Christian Zionism.
You're a
And
Christian
they're
Zionist.
And it's bogus.
Because they're not blessed by
Heresy,
God.
man.
Christian
Because
Zionists hate free
prophecy
speech.
has to be
That's
fulfilled
not Christianity,
in the
brother.
end times. And in the end
That's called
times,
crypto-Judaism.
they are going to go through
You
a
think the
period
Jews
of
are
time
very special people?
called the time of Jacob's trouble. And they're going to have
We've had
the
enough. No one
worst-
wants to listen to this.
the worst calamities coming on them as a nation in
We know
all
where you're
their
coming from,
time.
brother.
Sir,
Your time
if
It's
is
going to
over.
be
Sir,
worse
sir,
than Hitler.
Sir,
But
will
at
you
the
listen
end
to
of
me?
it, they will be saved by their Lord and Saviour. If you can find that.
Will you listen to me?
Speak.
I'm on
Don't
my...
lie about it.
Hang on.
You look like a wizard.
Hello, brother.
Let me speak. Shut your
Are you
gob.
trying to look like Jesus?
No, you've had
My
a good
goal-
say. Let him speak.
Remember, guys, has anyone got
Let
a
him
stopwatch?
speak. And you don't need to be right in his face. Move back a
Yeah.
little bit.
No, wait.
Can you move back? Because there are other people here.
I had to
Can
get
you
you
move
to
back,
notice. I had to get you to notice.
No,
No.
you've come and invaded his
No.
space. Just
You
move
have.
back a little bit.
You invited
And
me
you're
in.
trying to overtake
Well, I
the
did,
ball.
but...
Hello.
So what's the problem?
Now, the police moved you last time, remember?
Yeah, should
so
I speak
please,
now?
So
just
you're
have
going to
some
have
manners.
to rely
Have
on the
some manners.
police to get rid of
Well,
me.
you got no
Why
manners.
don't you debate me out of here?
And I'm... Okay, start the
You're
stopwatch.
just invading the space.
Restart
Listen,
it every time
okay.
he speaks.
If he interrupts
You've
now.
got 10 seconds. You've got
Okay.
10 seconds to be silent. We are here today to prove that Zionists, such as yourself, hate free speech.
Not true.
So good. Did he make it 14? 14. Okay,
14,
so,
okay,
well done.
sir.
That's the longest we've managed
Tell
so
you what
far.
I love as a Christian, it's the truth.
Yeah, I know.
And Islam isn't the truth, and you've been cuddling up to it.
No, I'm just kind to Muslims.
You're cuddling up.
I am polite and I have manners, and that is the thing that I am so concerned about in Britain right now because of what happened yesterday, right? Is that you say you're a concerned Christian. Will you condemn the rioters yesterday, sir?
Okay, so you're going to listen
it,
to me.
condemn 'em.
I do not support any political party. I do not support...
They're not a political party.
I do not support anyone
being a
going out on the street, causing trouble or damage or robbing places.
Targeting Muslims.
But neither
Targeting
do I
Muslims.
support people of a particular religion who feel it's okay to abuse the children of
There we go.
infidels.
This man believes in collective
So
punishment.
many
You're not a
children in
Christian,
this
sir.
country
You believe
have
that
been
You are a Judeo-Christian, sir.
They
You are a
the
Judeo-Christian. You are not a Christian, you are a Christian Zionist.
children.
Yeah, now you see this,
So
you can
there-
say that on YouTube, but if
hang on,
I
bro.
call a Jew
There-
boring, I get banned, right?
on,
I
hang on.
can't
You
call
you're
a
in
Jew
a space.
boring.
Just move
Yeah,
back.
I think we've
I'm
had
not-
enough.
hey,
You're going to have to leave now because,
you're
again,
just-
2
this
weeks
is
in a
not
row,
your
you've
place.
had enough. This is
You
not how...
need to
Right, take back what you said
need to
about it.
understand
We
the
now have
customs
a
of-
Christian
of-
Zionist refusing to
Yeah.
leave. Speaker's
Take
Corner.
back
Right?
Are we getting this guy? He's
don't
wanting to
know
take
who
over
I
everything.
am.
I know you are an incredibly rude Christian
Right,
Zionist.
and I get your attention, don't I? Because last week you wouldn't come over to me when I caught your eye.
What do you mean? I'm on my box.
Hang on.
Stand
You
for
know
the
what it is?
truth.
Every Zionist
I
makes it all
called
about
in
them.
last week
Zionism
for
is
misrepresenting
narcissism.
me.
This is how they
I am
behave.
not
It's-
of the nation
He
of
is.
Israel.
He's occupying my land.
Sorry?
You're occupying my
I
land.
said I am not.
End the Zionist occupation of my Speaker's Corner talk.
Who does that land belong to?
You're
Show
This
him
is-
your biblical knowledge.
He thinks he has the biblical right to shut me
does
up.
the land-
Isn't that amazing? This is the most Jewish Christian I've ever met.
You know what they do? When they can't answer a question, they change the subject. Who is that land belonging to?
I think we've
Not
can we,
who. Yeah, exactly, sir. We've had enough. We're all annoyed.
What
You need to
covenant
get
was
your own
given?
plinth, my
Guys,
friend.
I can't control this. The police aren't here. There is no way to stop this man from completely preventing you
You've had your
guys
say. Well
from
done.
hearing what I have to say, unless we
If
figure out a
anyone wants
cordial
the
way.
truth,
No, please stand over there and people can listen to you.
if you support
this
Hamas,
man
You're
over
in
there.
my
you're a
space.
supporter of
He's
murdering,
here to walk him
child
out, guys, if
killing,
you could. Can you escort him out?
racist.
Here, let's just help him.
You are being
You can get your own plinth. Well done.
a murderer.
You've had your say. Well done. Go ahead now.
He's not going to touch you.
No one's touching you. But you've had your space. Now you're just. Yeah.
But I warn
Had your
you,
say.
lay a finger on the Lord's servant.
Oh my God.
On you.
Off you go now.
Your Quran came from
Don't even
Lucifer.
film him anymore. I think we've had enough.
Right? So
Actually,
somebody
sorry.
explained it to me like that is that because
This is a 15-year-old boy. And here's
running.
this guy is frauding.
watching you.
Thank you, brother. Off you go.
God's watching you as well.
Brother, there's loads of space. It's called Speaker's Corner. Get a
You're
pin.
accountable
No
for
problem.
what you do.
We're all accountable.
You claim to be a
I agree.
Christian.
Well said.
You're a Catholic, aren't
God
you?
bless you. Yes, I am. So, yeah, go ahead. Have your pin.
The faults, the big, you know what the biggest
Why-
false
why-
religion on the planet is?
Why don't you get your own pin?
You know that
He's bullying me. He was pushing me away and shouting.
Hey, child.
A fucking 15-year-old.
Always use that when you can. Yeah.
for all of you, read the Bible
Thank you.
and read the covenants given to Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. That land was given to the descendants
This is all heresy.
of Jacob, and it's in the Bible. And God's going to reward you and give you everything you deserve.
Thank you, brother.
Because Muslims are the people that are taking over and they want to impose Sharia law. And I'm like, no, Zionists have taken over. And this is how narcissistic patterns work, is you need a scapegoat. And the thing is, like, because I've spotted Muslims as a
Let's
scapegoat,
give Nick a
I'm
bit of
really
space.
angry.
Sorry. He's gone. We can have a normal conversation again.
Awesome. Awesome. So, let's start again. Who believes in English people? As in, who believes they exist? Oh, they. Cool. Being continually told that we don't causes events like yesterday, basically. That's what I think is going on. I haven't had much trouble from people saying, like, I'm an Englishman, that's not because of my passport, it's not because I grew up in an English school, it's because my parents are English, right? And when we continually get told, like, oh, but England is a nation of immigrants, blah, 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 there were always invasions. Well, the largest big invasion onto our shores, which changed our ethnicity, was about 1,000 years ago, and it was absolutely tiny compared to the waves of mass immigration now. So it's kind of a situation of like, stop gaslighting us, stop gaslighting, and that's mine, rather than getting like frothing mad and go, it's an anti-white system, because I don't think it's an anti-white system. No, it's not, because I just saw a Muslim get his head stamped on last week, so it doesn't really fit into the system. But yeah, what I would say you've got going on at the moment is this two-tier policing narrative is making everybody feel like a victim. And I'm in a weird position because I'm like, okay, I am a victim because I keep getting kicked off YouTube and kicked at a Tommy rally and arrested for not doing a crime and all this. So I'm in this weird position where I'm like, I actually have victim currency and I want to use it, but every time I do, people go, oh, boo-hoo. But well, yeah, it is, yeah. It's all white people. But my free speech has been threatened. I don't think those boys yesterday were having their free speech threatened. I think that they have been propagandized to believe that everything is against them, right? Whilst Muslims are also being shown footage of a Muslim getting his head stamped on. And they're seeing open, just horrible stuff written about Muslims every day on Twitter, mosque attacks, everything. So Muslims have every right to feel like it's unfair for them. The same narrative is being pumped into black people with Black Lives Matter.
For them to get radicalized.
Exactly. And I think the other one that we need to be really serious about is the police, because police officers are just doing their jobs, and I don't personally think that being a police officer is a healthy career for anybody, because I think it's too much trauma for a human being to handle. But we do have police officers, and we need them, That's it. And it used to just be Black Lives Matter saying defund the police. Now everyone is saying that the police are engaged in two-tier policing, but it's against their own group. So I'm here saying, don't be a victim, stop it. Like, I've actually been through this stuff. I've actually lost jobs because of your woke culture and that, and I'm censored because I'm an anti-Semite and all this, and I'm still smiling, and I'm not smashing up a Sainsbury's, and I still am able to talk to people. So what are you really on about, lads? I know you like to pretend you're hard with your little swastika tattoo. Did anyone see this guy with the swastika tattoo? Oh, proper British. What the hell? What the hell was that? What the hell is that? You can't walk around the streets with a swastika next to a Union flag saying, yeah, this is Britain. That's just nonsense. That's schizophrenic. But they don't understand their arguments. No, they are scared to talk to me, and they're scared to talk to Muslims. And so Muslims were going out to these riots to try and talk to these people. And every time they were able to diffuse a situation, that's a big success. And so I'm kind of basically standing with them. I'm trying to be a sort of white version of that and say, no, not having this, stop scapegoating Muslims. If you're concerned about the demographics and the amount of people coming over on the dinghies, then learn to talk about it properly instead of joining in a big mob so that you're safe and going and smashing some stuff. Because I do believe that ultimately these riots were triggered from voices in Tel Aviv, or maybe they're in Spain, but the instructions are from Tel Aviv. And that was to send our country up in flames immediately after Keir Starmer comes in, and Keir Starmer's big boogeyman is the far right. And we've got sort of online safety bill stuff and all of these different policies to shut down the far right. Immediately after a Labour government gets in, like, you can see that it's clockwork.
It's too much of a coincidence.
It is, isn't it? And I think, actually, I'll just say the bit that gets really disturbing for me is that I don't believe that the 3 girls who got killed was a psyop and was made up. I don't believe that. However, it's so evident to me that the machinery to start a riot as soon as some horrible interracial crime happens was there. There's a woman called Bernie Spofforth who has a big Twitter profile. She is the one that put out the fake Muslim name. She's the one that put out the Arabic sounding name, Ali, whatever it was, and then deleted it. She deleted it once it was already out there, hoping that people wouldn't be able to trace the source. But I'm pretty sure she's a member of the British Friends of Israel. If she's not, then she constantly retweets them, because it's Laura Dodsworth, Toby Young, etc.
But what worries me is the members of Parliament as well, you know, like the Richard Tice of these worlds. I mean, they just light the torch and then they just walk away, don't they? And they're actually standing members of Parliament. They're in our Parliament now, and that's what worries me.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to highlight is I'm a bit of an old guard at the alt-right and the far-right and all of that. So I can remember a time when the far right, i.e. people like Nick Griffin, Jada Franson and all that, right, we believe, because I consider myself one of them actually, that group, that ethnicity matters, we are on chart to be a minority in our own country, we need to at least have a conversation, because at the moment we're being told the English don't even exist, because what is an English person really? It was all about that. Whereas the Tommy Robinson movement was saying, no, it's about culture. We want Indians, we want the Chinese, we want like high achieving immigrants, which actually destroys the middle class, because people like me can't compete, because quite frankly, Chinese and Indian kids work harder. They've just got a better work ethic. And, you know, where does that leave me? But I think every nation should be self-sufficient, so I shouldn't really be out-competed by people coming in. But yeah, I mean, they're all being told it's Muslims. All right, and so that's what's happened. Yeah, what happened a few years ago was the civic nationalists, who are Tommy Robinson, etc., who stand in firm opposition to Nick Griffin, and they call them far right and say that they're monsters and that you shouldn't listen to them. And we oppose the real far right. It has completely switched in 2024, where me, Nick Griffin, and Jada Franson are saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Facing all of this ire at Muslims? That is horrific. This is not what it's about." Whereas these guys are instigating quite obvious white pride riots. Like, I remember 5 years ago, these guys would call you racist for saying, hey, ethnicity matters. Right? Now, what happened yesterday was just groups of white kids going beating up anyone who wasn't white. Hopefully not that much of it. I don't know. Really hard to get a handle on it. But I am saying categorically that was done by Zionist actors. 100%. So that's the reason that Reform UK didn't condemn the police, which I think might be one of the scariest things I've seen in politics. Because, was it Lee Anderson said they should get a medal? He did. Yeah. That should scare everyone. And it did scare me because I do my activism, right? So I was arrested 2 months ago, and I didn't get my head stamped on, but it's really not a nice experience suddenly having no rights. When you're in the interview, in the middle of giving an interview, I was sort of just like shouting outside Victoria Coach Station, which isn't a crime, and they said it afterwards, and then suddenly my hands are behind my back. I think I was rolling a cigarette. I talked to a copper, or an ex-copper that I'm friends with, because he wanted to know like whether they actually followed procedure, and they didn't, because they searched me and they hadn't arrested me for anything where they would need to search me. I was not under suspicion of possession of anything, but they did get me to empty my pockets. It's quite a lot in here. Getting arrested is not a nice experience.
Tommy Robinson's actually not being arrested because it's the audacity of him. He actually lives in Spain with an Irish passport, so he just flies off to Spain and doesn't get arrested. But again, he just lights that torch and then he goes away. He lives in Spain, for crying out loud. He doesn't even live here anymore, and he's got an Irish passport. It's just ridiculous.
Do you consider him a British nationalist?
Very much so, yeah.
Very much not.
No, I do consider him to be a British nationalist. Oh, you don't?
No, because he's a gay rights activist for Israel.
He pretends to be a British.
Oh, I didn't know he was a gay rights activist. I didn't know that.
Now, the reason I say that is because what's Israel's goal? Land expansion. More Jews in Palestine, basically. Yeah. And parts of Saudi Arabia and Jordan. Into Syria, yeah, exactly. So the goal is just to expand into Arab territory, and they have no problem with. Tel Aviv is the gay capital of the world.
And I think the fact that the IDF now seem to think sodomizing prisoners is part of kind of their policy, however you want to describe it. I think that if you support Israel, it's very hard to deny that you're not a gay rights activist for Israel.
Exactly.
And that seems to be Tommy's job.
Israel supports gay rights, and in our conception, it's called Palestine. They've taken over Palestine to have a big gay rights party.
But they don't, because
basically.
there's no same-sex marriage in Israel.
But you're not allowed to not have gay discos full of methadone on Palestinian land in Palestinian homes. That's my point, is that like they love to go on about how homophobic the Palestinians are and throwing the gays off the buildings. And the thing is, I would be an enormous homophobe if I was a Palestinian and I'd been kicked out of my house and now it was being used for gay methadone orgies, because that's what's actually happening. Because Tommy Robinson supports that. He doesn't support the right of me, a English nationalist, to tell the truth. because his stewards are allowed to assault me because it keeps him safe. He's actually published a video saying, thank you to all the stewards for keeping me safe. From what? My hurty words and my t-shirt. I'm not a terrorist. I don't go around carrying a knife. I had no intention to kill Tommy Robinson, but I did get assaulted because they thought I was a danger to him because of my big mouth. That is not a free speech warrior. That's a coward. That's a coward, and he's funded by Israel. So I'm fed up of this con on the British people. And yeah.
If you've answered this already, can you be an English nationalist and a Zionist?
No, because you can't serve two masters, basically. And why would you support Israel is the question. If you, at this point in world history, if you support Israel, I'm going to assume you're being paid, because there's nothing to support. And in fact, it's not even just 9 months of barbarity. It turns out it's 80 years or more, 100, I think, yeah.
It goes back to the 1890s. It didn't start when the Balfour Declaration was signed. People look at 1917. You need to go further back than then.
Let's say I have 1948 as my key
Oh
day,
no, it goes well.
know.
They were lining up. They were lining up Arab families, their fathers, their mothers, and children, and murdering them well before the Balfour Declaration. So it's been going on for more than 140 years. It hasn't just started, and it certainly didn't start on October the 7th. That's the biggest. That's just nonsense.
What I think is promising is that it's Speaker's Corner, so people are going to know more than they know. They're going to be politically plugged in, but people are learning. I think more and more people are learning about Israel-Palestine because it's the biggest news story, and you kind of have a responsibility to it. It's what I did, and I think that these Tommy Tards are siphoning themselves off into their own little echo chamber, and they're kind of doubling down on refusing to look into it and refusing to look at anything, and they're actually taking pride in stupidity. And so that's what I'm saying to them is, guys, you can't win the debate like this. You can't be proud of not knowing anything. You can't. Because that's where you're at. You're going, I don't care, and when I say words with my mouth, you just go, oh, Tommy. And then I point out that you don't even know his name. Why are you in love with this man you've never met? That's weird. That's gay.
And he's a benefits cheat. And he assaulted his girlfriend.
Yeah,
and
that was his first
if people just go back and look at this character, he's so distasteful. You need to go back and look at him, and yet you support this individual. It makes no sense.
I'm trying to point out to them is why. Because, for me, I went and met people that had worked with him, and loads of them. I've made loads of. God's sake. Check out my website because you'll enjoy it. It's jacked.uk, jackd.uk. I've done loads and loads of documentary stuff, and it's all free. And that's cool, man. That's awesome. But yeah, I've done tons, especially in the last month, on Tommy Robinson. I am pro-Palestine, but more than that, I am. What are we here to do? We're here to build race relations after the epic mess that happened yesterday, basically. So I'm here as a white guy saying, I want to talk to Muslims because I've been told to be scared of them and it didn't work. Eventually I got fatigued and I went, I can't be terrified of Muslims anymore. They're not doing anything to me. They don't seem to be threatening me. Whereas I have diagnosed a whole lot more problems, and every time I, turn up wearing this, I get attacked by a Zionist. And the Muslims.
Maybe it's more correct to say, without putting words in your mouth, we're trying to build a religious alliance.
We are. That's
between
true.
Christians and Muslims.
Well, we're trying to. Yesterday was so horrible for me, and so this is supposed to be our alternate option to this Tommy Robinson nonsense because it's so well funded and they're all backing each other up. So GB News will not condemn that Trafalgar Square thing. They were promoting it. Bear in mind, a few years ago, all of those voices would have said Tommy Robinson's a far-right racist. All of them. We've suddenly had a shift where they promote him and they clean him up. Jordan Peterson. He was on with Jordan Peterson very recently, only a few weeks ago. They've been kept apart, even though the same people pay them. They've been kept apart for many, many years, so that now, now we need the pensioners to donate to Tommy. And it is such a horrible grift. They were walking around with buckets of change. I'd quite like to bring a bucket of change here today because I consider this a day in work. It is. I'm sort of singing from my supper, and this is my full-time job, is doing this journalism stuff. But I think it's illegal. I don't know. It might be illegal for me to have a bucket of change on Speaker's Corner. I don't know that it wasn't illegal for Tommy to walk around and doing that. Another detail is all of those stewards are volunteers, not employees. And they're all doing it because of a love for Tommy Robinson, which is not his name. This man who beats his wife, who is now divorced, uses prostitutes in foreign countries. Can you imagine the balls to do that, to touch down in Canada? You got an interview with Jordan Peterson. The people that are hosting you are not cocaine addicts, and you don't even bother to hide it. You go, I'm itchy, I'm itching, I'm itching. And do you know what the deal is as well? Because Tommy Robinson is like, you know, he's Mr. Anti-Muslim, and the Muslims are taking over and they're colonizing. This guy knew an Indian restaurant owner in Montreal because he also knew his brother in Luton, and he knew he could get cocaine off him. You were talking about the Indian network, weren't you? You were talking about the fact that the Jews and the Hindus have a network. Tommy Robinson was able to score cocaine off an Indian in Canada. What does that have to do with British nationalism? Why does a British nationalist know the best Indian to get cocaine off in Canada? And why is no one appalled by this? Big point. And then he went off to a brothel, which, you know, his whole point is grooming gangs. You don't care about sexual abuse. And I think the saddest thing is that neither do the audience, because you tell them these hypocrisies and they just go, Tommy, Tommy. And so it becomes really hard for me to root for the white guys. It becomes really hard for me to be a representative going, yeah, we are going to be a minority in our own country by 2066. But the problem is, you guys are so immoral that it becomes impossible to support you. And Muslims are so polite to me. They just are.
Apparently he's grooming underage boys as well.
Well, I don't know about underage, but I have...
Well, apparently they're under 18, but...
No, I don't know about that, but like there's a lad called James Harvey who has basically... He's not under 18. He goes to university, but my rule is 25 because your brain is still developing to 20 till 25. And when I see these adults... promoting children or young adults, because I don't think the phrase young adult should ever be used for someone under 18. That's muddying the damn waters. So a young adult to me is someone 18 to 25, and they take everything very emotionally. They can't separate between the personal and the political. So what happened to James Harvey is he used to work on Unity News Network, who are against Israel, and they could see all this stuff, but Tommy Robinson gave him a little pat on the head and said, you're doing really well, and he invited him on stage to say, promote your channel. That is grooming. He did that. Now, what? And this was another thing that broke my heart, man, is that I was filming all of the anti-lockdown protests throughout 2020 and 2021. Tommy Robinson was over in Spain, not saying anything. He did put anti-lockdown posts out, but he doesn't run his Telegram channel. You can tell because it's clearly not run by a cocaine addict. It's run by someone professional, presumably out of Tel Aviv, and they just harvest content from everywhere. And they were doing that all through the lockdown to build him on Telegram. He had a huge following on Telegram, and I'm telling you, it's not Tommy Robinson. It's called Tommy Robinson News. They're just lifting content from everywhere so that they can be the big channel. Whereas I went and filmed everyone. People with these gimbal cameras, right? There was a huge network of independent journalists, and a lot of these people got their houses raided by the police for simply filming what was going on. The human rights abuses during lockdown were tremendous, and Tommy Robinson was not there. Richard Tice told you to go get the vaccine because it's saving lives. All of them were not involved. David Curtin was there, Piers Corbyn was there, and David Icke would basically be your three big names. Nobody else. And I know that because I filmed them. So this lot coming along now and basically pinching that movement, because that's what's happened, is that all of these people that were filming it, who were my friends, Willsey from Resistance GB was one. James Harvey's another one. I wasn't his friend, but these were the people that would come down and film the protests when it was a moral duty to protest because these rules were illegitimate and they never should have been in place. Like yesterday was just a pointless riot. That's not a protest. A protest has goals, a clear stated aim. You know what you're trying to achieve with it, and the lockdown protests were doing that. So I think that they were completely morally justified. Tommy Robinson has been able to recruit that entire movement to support him because he invited them up all up on stage at the first rally and said, promote your channel. And some of them knew he was a Zionist shill, and they've decided not to say anything because A, it would rock the boat, and B, I've got a whole new audience for my channel. Shekel, shekel, shekel. I'm not like that. I do not care how many people watch me, and I want to get banned off YouTube because it proves the point. Why am I being banned off YouTube for calling this Jew boring? That seems like a low bar. Because that's, sorry, you won't know that, but that's my current thing, is there's a Jewish guy that runs a channel called Heretics, and I'm repeatedly calling him a boring Jew to see if he will eventually call the police on me.
Are you being accused of being anti-Semitic
Yeah.
just because you called him a boring?
Exactly. He called me the most despicable type of racist. He said this man is sick in the head. This man is sick in the head, and it's because I'm calling him boring because he is.